Then, mid-sentence, he suddenly says, just a minute. I need to go talk to my father. Boom. He set his bags down and walked away.
I thought our lives were over. I thought we were about to explode. We looked at each other, but not knowing what to do, we just stood there and waited.
1, 2, 3,
Aloha!
We are Kensho Quest.
We travel to open our minds and our hearts.
Let's make friends around the world!
This video is the first in a storytime series where we'll be sharing lessons we've learned while traveling the world. We feel that this particular story is relevant given the current situation in the United States. What happened isn't something we're proud of, it reveals our flaws, but none of us are perfect.
This story takes place while we were traveling through India. And this particular day, we had a 6-hour train ride into Jaipur, where we arrived about 7 in the evening. And then, later that night, we had another train to go from Jaipur to Mumbai.
If you've never been in a train station in India before, it is quite a culture shock.
We've never been in a train station in India that wasn't crowded. And when I say crowded, I mean crazy crowded. Yeah, literally like packed to the wall with people. And I think one of the reasons why this is the case is that in general, they leave the doors open, so you have a variety of people in there. You have beggars, you have shaman, you have kids, homeless kids in the train tracks cooking their food. And at the same time, you have your business people who are traveling for the day. You have your average person like, that are just going to visit relatives. And then you have people like us, backpackers.
It's hot and stuffy. There's no air conditioning. If you're lucky, you might find a fan. If you're super lucky, you might find a chair to sit on, but those are probably all taken already. In our case, we would always wear our backpacks because the train stations aren't the safest place. It's always showing on the monitor, don't leave your stuff, Don't accept food from strangers.
So when you're at the train station, it is a completely chaotic place. Especially for a foreigner, the locals seem to know their way around, but for foreigners, even though at this point we had been in India for over 2 months, every time we got to a train station, it was still a chaotic mess for us, and it was a new experience every single time.
First, it's super difficult to figure out which track your train will be arriving on, and you need to make sure you're waiting at the right track or you're going to miss your train. Secondly, since the trains tend to be so delayed, you don't know when your train might arrive. So you need to be standing right there, and we hope it's the right track, constantly watching that sign to see if your train number appears. Because that train's only going to pause for a couple minutes before taking off again. So you need to be ready to hop on. We get to our location. We have like 2 hours till the next train, but we gotta hurry because it's not easy to find. Luckily, we do eventually find where we think our train is going to arrive, and we're standing there waiting for our train. The station is filled with various smells. There's spices in the air. There's vendors coming by trying to sell chai or samosas. Your senses are just being hit with so many things at once.
We're just so tired of this at this point that we just, got to the point where we just started ignoring everybody because, especially when you're a foreigner, in an Indian train station, it's very common for people to even come up and take a picture of you.
We had been bombarded by so many beggars throughout our travels in India that we had stopped giving out food and money and got to the point where we were just numb to it, ignoring them, and just hoping they walk on their way.
Then, this guy comes up to us. He's wearing a plaid shirt, he had a turban and a very long beard, and carrying 2 really large duffel bags. He comes up to us and starts a little bit chit-chat with us, but then again, we were used to this, we were tired of it, we didn't want to hear it, but he kept on talking to us. So eventually we started, chit-chatting back about, where are you from, what do you do, da-da-da-da-da. But as we were talking to him, we noticed he kept on looking to the side. He was looking to the side and we didn't know exactly what he was looking at until finally he's all, oh, that's my father over there, And so we look over to the side and there's this man dressed in a white robe. He also had a turban and he had a really long white beard and he had this snarl on his face. We didn't know what was going on, but it seemed like he wasn't happy that his son was talking to us. Then, mid-sentence, he suddenly says, just a minute. I need to go talk to my father. Boom. He set his bags down and walked away.
I thought our lives were over. I thought we were about to explode. We looked at each other, but not knowing what to do, we just stood there and waited.
There was nowhere we could go. I mean, like Heidi was saying, in some cases, you're like this, crowded, or there's people sleeping on the floor. There was nowhere we could go. So we didn't know what to do.
This is what the US media had taught us, that a man wearing a turban is Muslim, and that Muslims are terrorists carrying bombs. After what felt like an eternity, but was probably a couple minutes, the man returned and continued the conversation. We hadn't exploded, and he wasn't Muslim. And even if he had been Muslim, it still wouldn't have been bombs in his bags. He was of the religion Sikh, which unfortunately I can't claim complete ignorance in this situation of not realizing that. During law school I had classmates who were Sikh, and I remember attending a lunchtime talk where they explained about their religion, but even so, given this intense moment, we misread his religion, we misread his intentions.
We deeply apologize for stereotyping him. It turns out he was quite friendly. He's a teacher. He had been on a mission and he was on his way home. He invited us into his home to spend a few days with him and to take us to his school. You know, he was just a great person, and I mean, we felt terrible at the moment, you know, like, how could we do that? We had been in India for a few months. We had traveled the world at this point, and yet we still have these stereotypes.
We exchanged contact information with him, and pretty soon our train arrived and we boarded the train. And once it was just the two of us, we reflected on what had happened and admitted to each other that we had both had that same thought, thinking that we were gonna die. Despite having traveled to numerous countries, despite both having attended schools with people of different ethnicities, having many friends of different backgrounds, we still had ingrained in us these strong biases that our society pushes on us. And these stereotypes aren't something that we can magically make disappear overnight, but we can continue to work at trying to give people the benefit of the doubt.
In our 15 years of travel, we've consistently met people who are kind, helpful, generous, compassionate. This is in every single country, every religion, and every culture.
This particular story we just recounted happened in India, but I'd like to give an example of why we love to visit and bring other people to Malaysia, is that it is a Muslim or Islamic country, and it just shatters the negative stereotypes that we see portrayed in the US media. To see what actual Islamic life is like, it is so far different from the portrayal you see in the newspapers or on TV in the United States. I really feel that if more Americans were to get out and travel beyond their own borders, to meet people in different countries, to make friends with people of different religions, that our country would not be as racist as it is today.
This is why we travel and why we share it with you on Kensho Quest, to give you a broader perspective of the world.
Let's make friends around the world! Now try it, go, Sadie.
Okay, wait, you guys.